Hey, what's up, friends? Ray with Docket Timberworks. How y'all doing? So, I'm kind of excited for this one because I found some big eastern red cedar. So right off the bat, my main concern is right here. There's a split. I'm going to not do this as a live edge because I don't want that split being up in the rim, and then hopefully when we turn the tenon, it'll get turned away. We'll keep it, it's probably, a lot of this is gonna go by the wayside. We're probably just gonna keep mostly heartwood, have maybe a shallow everyday carry bowl. And this will be my first time turning eastern red cedar. So stick around and see what we get up to. It's a 3/8 hole. PMI, probably PMI, precision machine. Anyways, it's this woodworm screw that I got off of Craft Supplies USA. And I'll bet you I have this on spindle speed. Yep. So look, it's not that hard to change your belts. It's not that time consuming, it's not that difficult. It's just part of the game. But you're better off doing that than running at the wrong RPMs. Wrong torque values, this and that. So we'll just switch this back up to the middle range like we're turning bowls. We're not doing anything big and massive, so we don't need to be into the low torque range. Okay, so just like that, we change the belt speeds. People make a big deal out of it. It's not that big of a deal. Just do it. Before variable frequency drives, everybody was doing it. And you would do it 3, 4, 5 times during your process because that's the only speed adjustment you had. Okay, that's better. I don't like this one right there. It is surprisingly light for how large the blank is. I'm not used to that. I lock the spindle into place and now I tighten everything up. All right, don't forget to unlock your spindle. This is a really weird angle. I don't know if this tailstock's really gonna do much, but something's better than nothing. All right, let's see if we can start getting things a little bit evened up. All right, friends, I don't know how this bowl did it, but it escaped the natural order of progression of my recordings. So this bowl should have been released, I don't know, a month or so ago and a few bowls back. This was probably one of the first ones before I broke my back, or one of the last ones before I broke my back. As you can see, I'm wearing a flannel under my turning smock because it's still cold in the shop. So, you know, I live in Michigan, so this was probably late April. We had a weird run of kind of late winter weather towards the end of April. And what happened was I had come across a guy's marketplace ad saying that he had a load of cedar logs for anybody who wanted it for 50 bucks. And so I jumped on that. I drove down to Ohio, loaded them up into my trailer, and brought them back because I had never turned red cedar before. So we're just whittling away at this large hump here. And I mean, these were good sized logs. There were some of them probably maybe 36 inches in diameter, the largest one. I've got some still photos at the end of this video of the trailer load that I hauled off and my son sitting on them. Okay, it sounded like it wants us to come out this way some. So anyways, I was really excited about turning this red cedar because I've never turned any of the cedars before. And from what I recall and seen around, everybody seems to enjoy it and like it a lot. It's a really popular wood to turn before the UV rays hit it, and dead in the colors, the red is really vibrant and good looking. Yeah, I'm figuring this inclusion's gonna stay in the bowl, but I want this split gone and out. So we gotta work this bottom some more. So when I cut this blank with my chainsaw, I was originally thinking about doing a live edge because you can see the contour and how uneven it is. It would have made a really cool live edge. But I found that split and that bark inclusion in there to be
too much instability
undesirable. I don't like having splits in the rim. Sometimes I'll deal with them at the bottom of the bowl. They'll be fine. But I don't like instability where the rim can separate. And I don't like doing epoxy jobs or anything up towards the rim if I can avoid it. And that was just clear and present. And I made the decision to do it in a standard orientation and have the sapwood at the bottom. And so I'm having to remove a whole lot of material off the bottom. Now, had I planned this originally from the get-go, I would have removed all that material with my chainsaw.
For the stability of the bottom, I'm not gonna tempt fate with that.
Removing all that material with my chainsaw would have saved me a ton of work and just kind of, you know, sped up the process some. I would have just got straight into profiling the bowl. But I'm not mad about it. I get a feel out the blank, get a feel out the wood, get a feel for it, and it cuts like butter. It's really soft and easy to turn and cut through. As you can see here, you know, I do my typical left-handed push cuts as I'm hogging off most of the material, you know, to stay out of the line of fire because I don't trust that split. If you got a catch or if the piece decided to let go, I don't want to be right in front of it, kind of more how I am now, until most of that material is removed and it's a smaller piece. But once I remove a bunch of material, I know my woodworm screw is set and a lot of the big chunky stuff is gone, then I go ahead and just go in and do pull cuts or draw cuts because they're really fast.
Yeah, I don't know if I got part of this bowl attachment ain't sitting right. I think that's what a lot of that is. People go crazy all over the Facebook group about how good this stuff smells. And all I can think of is a hamster in a pet store. That's it. I'd much rather turn cherry or walnut as far as smell goes. I'm going to pull this back and actually get a real bite. So we'll turn the speed down.
I don't like letting the nubs that the tailstock support sit on get too long because they're flimsy, and then it's almost like not even having tailstock support on there because they can break off so easily. So depending on how much of the bottom I remove, I will replace the tailstock a couple of times and remove that nub.
Yep, now we got that engaged. Now we crank it back up again. We're about 900.
Okay, so 900 RPMs on a bowl that's about 16 inches in diameter before I start removing it down. It's cooking, man. It's cooking. It's moving fast. As you can see, the material just flying off and catching on my arm. And I'm turning on a big one-way 24 by 36 with a small 17-inch extension on it, but I also have the outboard bowl extension on the outboard side of the headstock.
We should have a solid material now for the tenon. I'll tell you what though, man, this stug, it really hogs off really good and easy. It cuts like butter, that's for sure. See, I can deal with a little bit of this and maybe keep a little bit of the sapwood in. I'm not sure. or just get rid of that and be done with it. I'll come back and clean up the top a little bit. See if I can't get a little bit more of that vibration out of there. Establish a rim.
So back to the one-way lathe. I don't have it bolted to the floor, and I really wish I did, because that would increase the stability. It's only got that small footprint at the tailstock, and then also the bowl attachment on the outboard side kind of makes everything a little bit uneven, and I really wish I had it bolted to the ground, because I do get vibration from time to time, and I constantly have to adjust the set screws on the feet that are in little steel plates on the concrete floor. When I turn big uneven stuff like this, it'll get to rocking and shift everything around, and I'm constantly having to retighten these set screws. So right now I'm forming the tenon. I used my calipers to mark it. I didn't put the footage in because my face shield and head was in the the way the whole time, but I removed most of the material away with the bowl gouge, and then I'll come back with my spindle gouge and fine tune the shoulder and the tenon to get a really good sharp surface. That spindle gouge just fits in there just so much slightly better than the bowl gouge does. This is a 1/2 inch spindle gouge, and I remove a lot of the heel material so it can fit in tight spaces and tight corners way better than a big 5/8 bowl gouge. Now once that tenon is formed and I know the bottom dimensions of the bowl, now I will go back and use more of a push cut again rather than draw cuts, because the push cut is a finishing cut and will give you a much cleaner surface that you don't have to go back and shear scrape if you do it right. You get in tight, you have only downward pressure with your thumb, and your hand is not on the tool rest slowing you down or adjusting you in any ways. You're completely driving the tool with your right hand, and the left hand is just putting downward pressure. It's basically increasing gravity. And if you do everything correct, you'll have a finishable, sandable surface.
That's smooth. That is smooth. But that's pretty smooth, man. Especially when you compare it to this versus this. That's like a baby's behind. I'm happy with that. I'm more than happy with that.
Like I've said in my other videos, if you have the chance, man, to test fit your tenon, do it. Make sure that foundation is right.
It pays to take a little bit of time, extra time, and get that tenon fit just done, just up right.
As you can see me rotating, there's no run out on that chuck. That's how you know you did your tenon right, is there's no run out on your chuck.
Because when you reverse your bowl, it's going to make everything just operate that much smoother and efficiently. I just put my Tommy bar here, put it against my tool rest. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of a weird angle. This is how I deal with the woodworm screw, especially on this. You know what? Here. So look. This is a spindle adapter. This goes from 33 to 1.25 inches because this tool is 1.25 inches. I go like this, and then there we go. Easy peasy. I used to struggle with strap wrenches and messing around with this and that. Just lock it into place with that Tommy bar and the tool rest, and it's smooth operating. Okay, now see, this tool can be used like this with a smaller screw or with a bigger screw. It can be used 6-inch, 5-inch, And I have another adapter that goes down to 4 and 3 inch. Or you can use this, whatever this is, 1.5 inch, 2 inch. So it's a great piece of kit to have in your arsenal. It's custom fit to whatever size you need it as. And I somehow always grab the wrong spanning wrench. And so for this, I just normally lock my spindle. Because, you know, the more of these that you have, the harder it is to focus what you actually want to remove. And unfortunately, this doesn't come 1.25 inches, so I'm always going to need an adapter. Unless I shelled out the big bucks and got the real version of the, you know, the Vic Mark. Which it might happen one of these days. I do like Vic Mark's products. Okay. I like to bring up the tailstock. Smoosh it in good and tight. It doesn't have to be that tight. Like I said, that was a good tenon. And then we tighten it down. Sweet. All right, now I want to show you this. It looks a little bit crazy because the shoulder doesn't go out all the way past the jaws. But look, you cannot fit a dollar bill in between this shoulder and the face of the jaws. This is the critical spot right here. Everybody thinks it's right here. It's not. And then the other critical spot is we don't want the tenon to bottom out in the bottom of the jaws right here. So it's this face and this face of the jaws where your tenon needs to be critical. Okay, now I run my tool rest quite a bit lower than center because 90% of the time my tool is tucked down into my hip, and doing so causes the tip to be quite a bit above the tool rest. And so, you know, you have to adjust things accordingly to your style of turning. So even though my tool rest is about 1 inch below center, my cutting surface is right on center. So this gouge that I've been using the entire video is a 5/8 Crown Ellsworth signature tool, but I have reprofiled it to a grind that I really like. I platform grind it to 40 degrees on the nose, really kind of sharp and pointy, and swept back wings that are radiused slightly. It's not straight across. So it has really nice push cuts that are clean. It has the ability to be used as a draw cut, kind of like an Irish grind or an Ellsworth grind, and be really aggressive removing material that way. Never really had the
and
bevel support
it's
that I
easy
wanted.
to get a good clean start pushing into the face of the bowl while I'm hollowing like this, that sharp nose angle. So this is a really good grind that I like a lot, and I usually keep this gouge in that format. It also has a full length flute. This is my third bowl gouge. My first two were ground away to almost nothing. And it has a long handle. This is probably my favorite bowl gouge that I own. I prefer the 40 degree over the 55 or 60 because it's so much easier. I don't have to reach all the way across the lathe for my entry cut. I'm almost straight in. And then also what I do is I don't try to go to bottom depth on a deep bowl like this on my first pass across. What I'll do is go maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of the way down, and that leaves mass at the center of the bowl to help with vibration reduction as I reach out towards the rim. I don't like leaving big cones in the center of the bowl because that's something you can catch a long radius wing like this on, or like on an Irish grind or an Ellsworth. You can catch that cone and get a gnarly
this stuff
catch.
is brittle. I don't know what a good depth I should be running on this, or thickness. That's a little bit thicker than I normally like, but I think if I undercut it and then go down, we should be pretty cool.
In hindsight 2020, right here is where I should have stopped, sharpened the tool, and then made that undercut and final pass to just get a little bit better surface and have less sanding.
Come on, man.
Now see, all those little grooves and steps are just bevel support that's already been factored in. So it's real fast. It's almost automatic. There's very little thought in this. I just put the nose into one of those grooves and start pushing in. And the gouge automatically has bevel support. That's another, why I come across and do a third and I leave noticeable grooves. I don't try and even it out. I want those grooves in that so I can come back and do this part so much faster.
See, it's starting to make thin noises.
And this is why I don't turn with headphones on, with music on in the shop, because there's so much audible feedback that you can get from your turning, your tools, your machine, and the wood. And you really miss out on crucial keys that could be alerting you to your bowl being dangerously thin, bark inclusions, cracks, separations, all that stuff that you would miss if you had music blaring in the background.
These OG curves and stuff can be tricky to follow. The profile and the contour. Oh, that was for me screwing around earlier. Man, dumb.
I honestly don't know what I did, but I screwed up the rim, and I was pretty mad at myself about it, so here I am fixing it. It's kind of funny. Going back and editing and kind of, like I said, this was months ago, and I don't exactly remember what I did. These are unsupported cuts coming up right here, and you can hear that I'm also extended past the tool rest too far. You can kind of hear a chatter and vibration of the gouge being extended past the tool rest too far and no bevel support. So this is an area, being aggressive like this, that you can mess up on. So you kind of be careful doing it. Think about what you're doing and adjust accordingly. So I misplaced my 5/8 bottom feeder and I grabbed my 1/2 inch one, and this is not the tool for the job. I am severely overextended past the tool rest for this diameter of a tool. Believe it or not, that little adjustment with the tool rest made all the difference in the world.
There's a homemade negative rig scraper made out of Amazon steel, and then I put it in it looks like a crown handle.
So what I'm doing is I'm bracing the outside of the rim with my fingers to reduce the chattering effect of the thin rim, and it was hot. So I went and grabbed a paper towel to hold against the rim. And the paper towel can heat up all at once. My fingers, not so much. And now we just go to sanding. I never sand the outside of my bowls because if your tenon isn't proper, if you go and sand that bowl and you go to remount it and it's not running true, you just wasted 10, 15, 20 minutes sanding on something that you now have to re-true before you hollow so that you have a proper piece. So I always sand the outside of my bowls after the hollowing. It is possible that once you have the bowl reversed, and if you do true it up, then you can go ahead and sand it at that point.
All right, sanding is done. And let's put some sanding sealer on there. This is myelin cellulose. I like to use it for my artsy type projects that I don't really, this isn't going to be intended for food. This is kind of an everyday carry bowl. Or, well, people have reservations about the juniper and its toxicity and allergens and all that stuff. So, ooh, wow. This stuff is thirsty. Should probably thin it down. We're going to put this sealer on here. Kind of pops the grain, lets you see what's happening a little bit. And then we're going to hit it with the abrasive paste. That should let it build up a nice, smooth surface. I need to start thinning this stuff down. It's going on pretty thick. The jar's over a year old, so it could probably benefit from a thinning. I haven't used it in a long time, as a matter of fact. But that's darkening the grain up pretty good. It'll let us see what we're working with, or what we can expect here in a minute after the abrasive paste. I've got some Minwax spray urethane that I haven't tried yet. It might get that treatment. I've also got Waterlox gloss that could put a real nice shiny finish on it. Something to really grab attention. My son helped me haul these logs off, and he was really surprised when I ripped into it the first time with my chainsaw, and he's like, that's red. Remember how I said I wanted a dark red bowl? So he might end up claiming this first cedar bowl that I turn. We'll see. I mean, it'll make a fantastic catch-all everyday carry for keys, change, wallets, all that good stuff. Kind of impatient. My wife texted me, said she's awake. She works night shift, so. And I was a bad husband. I was out here turning. I didn't really make anything for dinner. So, we'll see how this pans out. Who knows? Maybe we'll get tacos out of the deal. Since there's no dinner made. All right, so we're starting out at like 700 RPMs. We don't have to be cooking on this initial stuff. I like to take it a little bit slow in the beginning, make sure we work this grit in there, let it do its job. You got to pay special attention to the center because it's moving at a fraction of the speed as the outside. And this is Axe Abrasive Paste. You could go to axewoodpaste.com and use code DACA15 and get 15% off your entire order. I mean, that's a good deal these days, man. That's usually enough to cover taxes and possibly shipping. I don't know. It's been a while since I ordered anything or went that route through Tom, but he's a good dude. This is all American made food safe product, the abrasive paste. He was tired of the stuff that was on the market and made his own. So, and it's a, you know, you're supporting a turner that supports turners, and that's a good thing to do. He's a cool dude. Been in the turning business for a while, and he doesn't post on YouTube much like he used to, but, you know, I like anybody that started off with a Harbor Freight lathe like me. You know, I love seeing old footage of them Harbor Freight lathes being put to use. All right, we're going to kick this back up to 1,000 now. All right, paper towel's clean. Let's see how we did. Ooh-wee, friends. Look at that. Yeah, let's go ahead and see what the outside looks like too. You know, we got a little bit of that stuff right there in the foot. I don't care. Makes it look like a natural product. Yeah, boy. That's a nice utility shape to it. Your hands are going to go under it nice. It's got a nice deep pocket. This would be a good fruit bowl, or possibly, like I said, a catch-all bowl. I don't consider fruit like, you know, putting apples and oranges in there. You know, it's not like you're eating soup out of it. So, let's see if we can't get this figured out. It's not like enough vacuum. I don't know, friends. All right, so I've since figured out what the problem was, and the problem was the seal was not good with that rubber seal that was on that one-way vacuum chuck. I thought it was this hold-fast vacuum system that's generating the vacuum, so I went and bought a vacuum pump, and I built the T's and all that stuff. And later on in a Natural Edge sassafras video, I found out what the problem was the rubber chucky. It's not creating a tight seal. So I had problems. I was really worried about the vacuum the whole time. I was worried to take the tailstock off. There was just so many problems going on that my head wasn't in the game, and I took too much of this tenon away. Hindsight, I wish I would have stopped a couple of minutes ago and kind of blended the corner and the tenon in together. But, you know, all we can do is live and learn, and improve and learn from our mistakes. That's what I thought we were dealing with. Okay, we're still solid. So I had gone through kind of a long spell without turning much and reversing tenons. I was just kind of leaving the tenon on there for a while because I didn't have a reversal set up on this one-way lathe like I did on my older Rikon lathe. So this was my first go at using the vacuum chuck system on my one-way lathe, and I kind of dropped the ball. I want to have an idea of what I'm working with. Okay.
But you know, I don't hide my mistakes from you guys. I want you guys to feel that I'm kind of transparent, and I'm not a professional. I'm kind of at the same level as a lot of you guys out there, learning as you go and figuring things out. For the sake of my pride and ego, I'm not going to hide a mistake. Hopefully we can all learn from my mistakes.
Oop. Oh my gosh. Doing it again.
So it's super thin around the tenon, or the nub left. I mean, it's thin enough where you can press and move the wood around. So here in a second, I'm going to lose footage. I'm not sure what happened. I think I got frustrated, and during when the camera's battery died, I didn't change it out and just kind of finished the project. But what I ended up doing was removing the nub and sanding and finishing the bottom, but I left a little divot there because I was scared about going through, and you'll see it in the still gallery. But what I eventually did was, just through power sanding on my drill like this, I sanded the little circle away, the little disc in the middle, and finished up the bottom. I ended up selling this bowl. I wasn't planning on it, but I took it to the craft show as like an eye grabber.
All right, friends. Well, I kind of butchered the bottom. I went too thin. I went inwards right here. It's a little ring right here. So, I mean, I saved it. But like I said, I think this is going to be a bowl for my son. But I don't know. I don't trust this vacuum. It don't seem to be reading right or getting the right vacuum. But overall, like, this thing's light. So see, you can even right around here is where it's really thin. So I'll just leave that like that. It is what it is. And then it's been finished with abrasive paste. I got this little, oh, that's the beginning of the knot. So that's how thin it is right there. You know, there's a knot. So, but this is my first time turning cedar. And I mean, it's less than perfect, but it came out pretty good. I'll just get better as I go. Not every, you know, swing is a grand slam. So, I'll try and get some footage of it with some finish on it. I was hoping to get more of this. This is where right here was where a branch was forming out, and I was hoping to get a lot of the figure from it. It didn't really translate. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Oof, it's cracking already. Oh well. Yep, it's cracking through the bottom. Oh well. Well, you guys know how it ends up already.
All right, so here's some still gallery. That's the cedar haul that I hauled off. I got all that for 50 bucks. There's a cool piece of it. And then my son sitting on there, he's 6'3", you know, as comparison for the log size. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it, friends. You know, do the things, the subscribe, like button, share it to social media, leave me some comments and all that good stuff. I love hearing from you guys. It helps the channel grow and push the videos out. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, every share, all of that helps YouTube push my content further to those who want it. Thanks, friends.